How do?
How do? Or eat, where I come from.
Or eat. So today, we've got Mr. Cullen. Patrick, I always called him. Ex-gym screw from Strangeways. Take it away, Patrick. Obviously, I'd like to know a bit about your past, as much as you want to talk about. Obviously, we're a squaddy. Big thing for Ride to the Wall.
Ride to the Wall. Never heard of that one, kid.
Down Staffordshire.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The big memorial.
Oh yeah, I've been
Arboretum.
there. My regiment's got.
I talked to a lot of squaddies.
Right.
So I joined this last year.
Yeah.
Armbands, bike t-shirt, August at squaddies and that. Yeah. Motorbikes from all over the country.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So award is for you.
Yeah.
So away you go.
So how you doing, everybody? I'm Pat. I was a PI, or for them who don't know, a physical education instructor at Strangeways. I was a PI there for about just over 15 years, 2001. When was the Twin Towers? That 2001. Anyway, that's when I was on my PE course with my mucker Steel down at Lillishore, and then I left the service in 2016. 2015 I got kicked out of the gym, which I'll tell you later on, which was medical issues. Yeah. And I went in there working on the gate, and I was in there for 12 months, 13 months. But what I will say, before talking about PE, when I was in that gate, I was an SO. And you know the OSG guys? Yeah. There must have been 10, 15 of them there. And they were absolutely fantastic with me. They're boys and girls. They looked after me every day. Because obviously they knew I wasn't happy being in there.
Fish out of water.
That's right, fish out of water, learning the ropes, but every one of them looked after me. And when I left there, you wouldn't. When I actually left the service, the present they bought me, the card, I keep it home now, and I mean that sits inside of my heart because they were absolutely.
Did it bring a tear to your eye?
Well, it did, yeah. And what broke me a little bit. No, well, it did break me about 6 months ago. One of the old days, I used to call her Nellie Pledge. Remember Nellie Pledge?
Oh yeah.
That's how she were and how she looked. And she was the old girl, and she should teach the young ones how to do the job or what have you. And she died of the COVID virus.
Was she the small lass with glasses?
Small lass with glasses from Rochdale. I can't remember her name. I'm rubbish with names. Anyway, she passed away, and I shed a tear that day when I found out, because she was an absolute lovely lady. Anyway, apart from that,
squaddy mate, tell us about it. How it came about.
How old are you now? You're getting on a bit, aren't you?
60 next year.
Yeah, well, you're a bit older than me, kid. So we knew in the 80s, leaving school in the very early 80s, what was there? There was nothing, was there?
I was told me in Sheffield, and I've said this before, engineering or army.
Again, with me, as my careers officer said, you're going to end up behind bars, Cullen. I said, am I?
He were right then.
He were right then, yeah. But the best thing about it, I said, well, I'll prove you wrong, mate. I said, well, because I'm going in the army in September. Because it was the army, or UB40, the dole.
Yeah.
So I just thought, get in the army.
How old were you, Mum?
I was 16 when I joined the army. So I joined.
I thought you were like 17, 18.
No, because I joined what's called the junior leaders. So I went as a junior leader. And to be fair, I was at cadets and everything. My brother was in the army. I loved the army concept, but when I went in the juniors, it was like going back to school, and I hated it. I actually didn't like it. I detested it, but I stuck it out, and then I went into what's called the adult service. Went to Germany, Northern Ireland, did everything like you do. Did 6 years. I'd have probably done 22 years. I'd have said, yeah, I'd have done 22 years, but then my girlfriend, who's now my wife, I brought her over to Germany, and I said, this is what the army life's like. And she came over for 2 weeks. Well, within a week, I was shipping her back home.
She not like it?
She hated it. But I've been married 33 years this year.
Were you on a camp?
Yeah, well, we was obviously on the army base, but obviously because we weren't married, we weren't even engaged then, it's just my girlfriend. So I got her to stay at my mate's pad with his wife. Well, my regiment was full of Scousers and Mancunians. Well, they have to borrow all the makeup.
What regiment were you in?
1 Kings. Finest regiment in the British Army. People will beg to differ. Anyway, long story short, I got out of the army in Chester, 96. And do you know what I'll never forget? the ambulance service, the police, not the fire brigade, and the prison service came to the camp and says, if anybody's getting in the army in the next 12 months, we're doing like a recruitment day. So I never want to be a bobby. I don't know what you ever thought about being a bobby. Never in me.
No, probably not.
No. Ambulance at that time just didn't appeal to me, but I thought, yeah, prison service, and I'm going back like 35 years ago now. So these guys were talking to me, right, you're getting out of the army, come to Inley, we'll do an interview. And I'll never forget, I went to Inley, and I always remember my mum saying, you don't want to join that job. I said, why not, Mum? She says, well, it's like Scum, you know the movie?
Yeah.
It's like Borstal, and it's like porridge. I never thought nothing of it, but I'll never forget the day I went to Inley and I walked in the old grey type Victorian jail, clip-on ties and all that lot, and they're all them days you used to wear the barrifades, which is like your number 2s.
Yeah.
Before they changed the uniform.
Tell people what that they don't understand. It's like porridge, isn't it? How they were dressed on porridge.
Dressed on porridge, peak cap, / peak cap like that. Mr. What was he called? Mr. on porridge. I never watched it, but it was like that / peak cap, a lot of ex-military, barrifades, which is like your number 2s, so it's a tight uniform like the police used to wear. And I remember being in there, and it was a cold winter's morning, and they took us around the prison, took us to his interview, and he said, right lads, all you got to do is this little exam and you're in. And I went, not for me this. And basically I was coming out of one uniform and going to another.
Is that why? Or
I think so, yeah. And I just thought the atmosphere in there, it was horrible, it was cold, and it was dirty, and don't forget then, they were still slopping out. So the smell as well. You
tell people what slopping out is, because some people won't know what that is.
Yeah, so back before the prison Manchester riots, they used to slop out every day. So basically you'd have 3 men cell, 3 guys in a cell, and they didn't have a toilet. So they had a bucket in the corner of the cell, and obviously they'd urine in it, and there'd be times during the night they want to do a number 2. So you've got to do it in that bucket. So in the morning you used to unlock them, and that was called slopping out. Well, you can imagine the stench.
I can, yeah.
Yeah, and this all built up and built up when you had the riots, because it was all about humanity. And to me, it was inhumane. Is that the word?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
You know, when people talk, some people wear it like a badge of honour, don't they? Like talking about, you know, the good old days, slopping out and that. When you look at it, it's just
disgusting.
Backward, isn't it?
It was backward, and you mean it's only until 1990, after the riots here at Strangeways, and they had other riots at other prisons, that they decided, oh, what we need to do is give them internal sanitation, i.e. toilets in the cells. Well, that's human, that. That's normal. Yeah. Come on, England, what's going on here?
Yeah, it is exactly, innit? I mean, people still, when kids ask me something about prison, says, listen, imagine laid in your bed, yeah, and you've got your mate laid above you, yeah, you need to go to the toilet, but toilet is here, yeah, and your mate's laid there. No, yeah. Exactly. But that is positively
well, it's like,
modern, isn't it?
If I'm sat here with you now and I fart, you'll say to me, have you shit? And I'll say, yeah. And you'll say, you dirty bastard, and you drop the window and it's gone. But you can imagine being in a cell with another guy, you've got that all night. No. So, disgusting. And then, like I said, when I was there that day at Inley, I thought, not for me. So I moved on, I went on, and I had, do you know what, I must have had 15, 20 jobs after coming out of the army. I just couldn't settle. I remember working for G4 they were called at the time. And then forget it, we were up at Lake District, and then it was an old transit van, and I was sat in the back with all this money around me, and we're talking millions.
Or were you doing pick-up from banks?
Pick-ups from banks, but I was sat in the back. So the 2 guys in front, one was driving, and one just come to the side of the full transit, and I put the money in the bag and I swing it round like that, and he picked the money up and take it into the bank. And this is obviously before the old armed blags and what have you. Yeah. And then you used to have dummy bags to put them in case that did happen. And I remember one day I was up at Lake District, you can imagine it, undulating, left and right. I'm like, I'm going to be sick, mate, I need to get out. No, just be sick it back. So I was sick it back. And I only lasted about 2 weeks. But in the meantime, I never forget it, I was telling my mates in the pub, and then my brother says, listen, what you need to do is get that money, put it in, throw it all out, I'll collect it, you'll do about 10 years, and I'll be there for you when you get out. I said, you what? I said, you'll blow it all. But anyway, joking.
But I see, on a serious note, how much money did you used to pick up?
Oh, mate, about £100 a week.
You were getting 100 quid, and how much were in van?
Oh, millions, weren't there?
I have no idea.
You still had the £1 notes. £1 notes. And we used to go to a place there, it's in Warrington, and that's where we used to go to collect the money. And I tell you what, you used to drive in there back in, there's all security and what have you, and you get out of the vehicle and go in, and I've never seen as much money in all my life on pallets.
And what sort of checks did they do then on you to get a job?
Oh yeah. Well, I just come out of the army, haven't I? So obviously, like now you have what's the check you have now?
Well, it were DBS. It's changed again.
Yeah, it's changed now, hasn't it? You have like a basic, enhanced, and what have you. But in them days, they must have done something, because I never forget when I was in the army. Like I said, when I was in the junior leaders, because of my Irish background, my old fella, I transferred out the tankies because I didn't want to be the tankies, and I went into the Kings. But I had to go to London to the Ministry of Defence, and I was interviewed for about 2 days. And it was all to do with the Irish connection.
Well, explain that, because people won't understand that either.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the massive problem back in the 70s and 80s was the British Army was in the province, Northern Ireland. And if you had Irish connections, you was vetted. You was vetted to a degree, because people might want to join the services who might be an IRA activist and learn about how British soldiering goes on. Because you still had Irish regiments, but in my time, in my era, if you was in an Irish regiment, you couldn't serve in Northern Ireland. You weren't allowed to.
Really?
No, you wasn't.
I remember, growing up, all I remember on news was miners, a lot about miners.
Miners.
And just Northern Ireland, troubles, bombings, IRA, that sort of thing.
Well, the weird thing is, I was at York when the miners' strike was on over at Hadfield, where you live over that way.
Cholera, yeah.
And my old fella said to me, don't you ever dare go on a picket line. I said, what do you mean, Dad? Because we was getting the call that we might be going, because obviously the police were dictating it, but it was getting that serious for Scotland.
What are squaddies? You want about putting squaddies on?
Squaddies were the next door, the next thing to going in, being the front line. And my dad said, you ain't going doing that. I said, well, I'm a British soldier, Dad, I've got to crack on. No, you ain't doing it. And my dad was adamant. He always said, you never cross a picket line. Never ever, because my dad was old school, he worked down the pit.
Tell people what a picket, because some at young'uns won't even know what a picket line is.
Well, a picket line was basically people protesting either about the work conditions, the pay, maybe the pension, and they was stood there.
It was like a physical barrier, people, weren't it?
Physical barrier with placards and indicating to the rest of the country, this isn't right. Yesterday, I was driving through Preston, and there was a picket line, and I seen it, and it was this company, and I can't remember the name of the company, and they had placards like that, and they said, and it was saying, they're going to sack us, then reinstate us. It's the same thing, it's what they're doing.
It's to change contracts,
terms and conditions.
Yeah, of course it is.
The prison service done the same.
Of course they did.
I mean, they did it with the pensions. I always remember, you didn't put in for vets, did you, or did you?
No, I didn't, no.
All right, so in the prison service, they came up with this
2012, get rid of all high paid staff.
Get rid of all the high paid staff, voluntary early redundancy package, VEDS. And I put in for it. I didn't get it, which I was gutted about, but I'd had enough. I thought I want to move on in my career. I didn't get it. But the whole thing was after that, it's like you said, Sam, the terms and conditions completely changed. So then we was on what's called the classic pension. They introduced the alpha pension.
Yeah.
Now the alpha pension now is, when you're on the classic, you did 30 years, and then you got your pension. Yeah, and you could have stayed on work part-time. But the classic, that was a classic. But now this alpha pension, there's no retiring age. It's 67. See you later.
67, 68. 68. You see, the thing is, for me, you and I know, and lots of other people know, that no one's working to that age in the prison service, are they? Because there's no cushy jobs anymore.
No.
All office jobs that they used to get are all done by civvies.
Yeah.
So you're working on landings and the like.
Yeah.
The thing for me is that I think is disgusting. They're not expecting people to work that long. It just means that when you're done at 60, you've got 7 or 8 years before you get your money.
Pension, yeah.
It's disgusting.
And the clever bastards of the way they've done it is because, like you said, at the moment, you know and I know, there's nobody at 67 on the landings, because they know in theory that's never going to work.
No.
But what they're saying is, that's what's in place. crack on with it.
Yeah.
So getting back, where was we up to? Lost me.
You're on with your job, security.
So I come out of the G4S. I had a wagon. I drove my own wagon. I had my own wagon for a few years. But in the early 90s, we had the recession. Again, some people might not know.
They won't know what recession is.
Early 90s, we had the recession where there were no jobs. The economy was on its arse. The economy was on its arse big time. I was in the building game delivering bricks and blocks. And I remember probably doing 1-2 loads a week. Now, you got to imagine I had my own wagon. I was running my own wagon, my own business, fuel.
Self-employed?
Self-employed, 8-wheeler brick wagon. I had 2 young babies, 2 young girls. I mean, I had a mortgage. And I think, so this is going to tits up this for me. So my mate, Sean, top lad, ex-para, he'd been at prison service about 10 years, and he said to me, Pat, you need to get it prison service. I said, well, I had a look at it 15 years ago. He said, no, it's changed now, it's good. It's the old, after the riots, things have been introduced. Yeah. So I always remember the advertisement, so I put in for it, did the test and what have you. I never forget it, I went to Lancaster Files for an interview, and there were 3 people on the board, and he's obviously good cop, bad cop, and it's female.
So you did an interview back then? Proper interview?
No, proper interview. You did a written exam.
Yep.
There's no physical, you did a written exam. Once you did that, then you went and you all sat down, and then you got a letter, go back for an interview. So I went back, and there were these 3 people on this board, and the good cop, he was saying us a pound, tell us about your life, about your family, what have you. And the bad cop, he was like the ones asking you questions, like trying to trip you up. I never forget it, because Lancaster Files at the time was a Young Offenders Institute, YPs, and he says, if an inmate comes to you and asks you for a light, for a fag, what are you going to do? I said, well, because of the way I am, I'll go and get him a light. He said, what do you mean you get him a light? I said, well, I'll go and get him a light and I'll tell him what smoker's corner. He said, well, he's under 16, he can't smoke. I said, well, I've got to stop with. I said, because I don't smoke. I don't know what smoking age is. That was it. I thought, well, you asked me a question and I'm being honest with you. And obviously, cut a long story short, I got up, I'll never forget it, I think it was about the 22nd of December, 1990, was it 95? 95, and I got up and I said, right, thank you very much for the interview. And they said, if you'd like to ask us any questions, I said, no, I'm fine. But all I want to know, I want to wish you all a very merry, happy Christmas and a happy New Year to you and your families. And I fucked off I went. 10 days later, I get a letter through the post, congratulations, you've been accepted into the prison service. This is your starting date. And the starting date was 1st of April. I thought, well, they're taking piss here. So you can imagine it, right? So, and I never forget, it must have been 30 of us, all brand new staff, because Lancaster Farms was like a new prison, the newest prison, and they built this brand new wing, and we all went on that wing. But I never forget the day I walked into reception, sat there, and all the suited and booted, this little fella walks in. I thought, I know him, and I goes over. It's called Tommy O'Connor. He was in the Kings. He was a sergeant when I was in. One of the hardest little fellas you've ever come across, boxing coach, everything. I said, Tommy, what are you doing here? I joined prison service. Well, he'd been at the army 25 years. He went, come out of the army, went straight into prison service. And Tommy's, he's not very well at the moment. Not well, he's
You still in touch with him then?
On Facebook, yeah, but I think he's got signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's or whatever. Yeah. But he runs a boxing club for old people. And it's fantastic what he does. He runs it over at Warrington there. And in the regiment, he's very well known and well respected. Lovely fella. And then get back to farms. I've been at job then about a couple of months after going to, do you go to Wakefield?
No, I trained at Manchester.
Right. I remember you. Yeah, because you had
because I was the bad one on the course. Our course was the worst course ever. Can you remember now?
I remember certain things got said. I didn't know you from Adam.
Yeah.
But you remember I was over there a lot doing training.
Yeah.
First day.
Yeah, you were.
That's right. Now, the 2 guys who were in there, all I can say is they was always saying with me, the 2 trainers. But we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But they were always good with me.
Yeah.
And they looked after me because I used to get PP, I used to get payment plus, which is overtime for working in there. Yeah. But I do remember Sam, and I feel as I know you had a bit of shit going on, didn't you?
I'll tell you what, it was a lass, started on our course, come from ambulance service, and you know, it's a
Yeah.
new course, you're getting together, you're making friends. After a couple of days, she was one of these who...
She was weighing you up instead of job up.
No, not even weighing us up. She'd already decided, because I'm a big...
You're a big lad, I remember you.
Ball get, yeah,
thick
exactly.
set, yeah.
And I didn't find this out till last year.
Yeah.
So, after a couple of days, nobody comes near us. Gaff comes in.
Summons you.
One at a time upstairs. Right, I was the last one to go up. This took 2 hours. When I goes up, I gets in front of them. I won't use a C word, I don't like using that.
No.
Got in front of them all training panel. You're a C in bully. You're a C, you're not passing course.
Wow.
Right? Every time I tried to ask what I'd done, nothing. Went back downstairs, on the way down, I'm thinking, right, I need a job, I'm on my arse,
I'm out.
I went back in, I says, I don't know what I've done to offend anyone, cap in hand, I says, I need this job, so I'm going to need your help, that's to everyone. She was just sat there smirking.
Right.
But I only found out last year, there were about 6 lads who all got labelled as bullies.
Right. And what happened to her in the end? Did she pass the course?
She passed the course, although she failed the CNR.
Right, well, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. Are you ready for this? She did 12 months, 3 months at work, 9 months on sick. They did everything to try and keep her.
Yeah.
She did a classic. She come on K-Wing one morning, yeah? So Bertie Bassett says, who are you? She says, who the fuck are you? Yeah.
You don't say that to her next Fusilier, I'll tell you that for sure.
To Bertie Bassett, so he says, right, I'll tell you who I fucking am. I'm the fucking SO now, who the fuck are you?
Exactly.
So, he says to me, because I'm in office, she's on 3s with you. I thought, oh, fantastic. I think she's working on H&I. So Bertie says to her, get India 9. She says, what's India 9? He says, it's a radio
and get over.
for exercise. So at 10 o'clock, you'll be doing exercise. She went, I don't do radios. He went, you fucking what? Yeah. Cut a long story short, she went home, tears on. Bertie got a bollocking, sort of.
Right.
But she ended up hard at job. So she did 3 months on landings, 9 months on sick and gone, but they still tried to hang on to her, mate.
See, the difference was, I'm all for that local recruitment and what have you, because I think it's better to keep people in their home environment and the local prison. But when we went to Aberford Road at Wakefield there, we did 9 weeks training. And like you said, if you couldn't pass that CNR, you were gone.
Yeah.
You was not, I think they give you maybe back, you might have got an injury.
Yeah.
So the back squad you. But if you couldn't physically pass it, end of errand, you were gone.
3 of them failed it on our course.
Yeah.
Do you know now, a couple of people I'm talking to in training centre, seeing our guys, right, you learn control and restraint, locks, you know, twist prisoners up, whatever. It does make it safer for them. Most people, it's good, innit? It's good techniques.
It's the best technique.
It is what it is. So that's a week's training. At the end of it, you do a day of scenarios. So they'll have someone with a baseball bat, 3 of you, full riot gear going. At Prison Service College now, there's people refusing to do the scenarios and they're passing.
But you know why? Because that's the industry now. That's the way it is. You can't get the staff to do what we used to do, because the whole concept of the prison service now has changed so much. You said it before about Forest Bank. If you did 12 months, 2 years, happy days, but hopefully you're not going to stay any longer. You'll move on, because now we've got to start looking at giving you your pension. We've got to look at giving
extra
you
days off, pay rise.
That's right.
They don't want people to stop.
And like I said, when I joined the job, you started off on a basic salary about 21 grand, then you had increments, and to get to the top increment, it took you 10 years. I always remember getting to my top one, and then I was on about 28 grand.
You started on 4 grand more than me, and when did you start?
95.
I started 10 years after on 4 grand less. What's that tell you?
Tells you everything, doesn't it? And what's that old saying? If you're going to pay peanuts, you're going to expect that kind
you're going to get monkeys. You're not going to
get that kind of clientele, aren't you?
Of course you are.
And some of the, I'm always one for first impressions stick in my head.
Of course they do.
It's all about standards. And I remember some of the kids just before I was leaving were coming into that jail there, and I thought, because the kind of person I'd be saying, can I have a word, come to the office as an SO? I said, listen, sort yourself out. What do you mean? You scruffy bastard. Get some polish on your boots. Do you know what I mean? Get some lines in your shirt. Because some of them just check them out and they just fell off a flitting. But they just say, well, I want to put reporting against you.
That's what happens, isn't it?
That's what happened.
Putting a grievance, bullying.
Grievance, yeah, and challenge it, change it. Do you remember when all that came out?
Fucking hell, I forgot about that. You give me nightmares now.
Oh, again, it's a lot of stuff went on, and you just cracked on with your job, because the whole thing was dealing with inmates, but it's changed so much. So let's go back to, I went to Lancaster Farms, and I was there, young offenders, full of Scousers, full of Mancunians and Cumbrian lads, and I tell you what.
So, the same clientele that Leader Bent Screw had?
Right, yeah. And I think was his not adults, or was young offenders?
No, it was young offenders at first,
right.
But they were all Scouse gangs,
mate,
and Manc gangs.
Mate, I mean, I done time in the British Army with Mancunian Scousers. I love Scousers, but they have a twang in your ear. They do give you that bzzz.
Yeah, there's a lot of shitloads of Scousers follow me. Do you know what I mean? Nice messages, been talking to shitloads, but they have.
Well, they have their own culture, don't they?
Yeah,
they have their own language.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah,
and
definitely.
It's the same with the Mancunians, but when you've been there for a 10-hour shift, because what I used to do, because obviously I was travelling from this neck of the woods, I used to double up a lot, and I stayed at my mate's gaff. So I was doing 8 shifts. I'd do like 5 or 6 8 shifts on a bounce. Well, fucking ears were killing me. And I always remember, after about 8 months, I said to myself, I need to get out of here. But you know the guy, Pennington.
Yeah, Graham Pennington.
P.O.
Pennington.
P.O. Pennington, back in the day, top bloke, very well respected. I met Graham through a friend of a friend in the pub. Got long story short, he said, we're at some at the farms. He said, well, I'm a P.O., you know, I'm a P.O. at Strangeways. I said, you know what, I won't mind getting there. Leave it with me. So he got me in, he backdoored me in.
Did he?
Yeah, 12 months I was in Strangeways. I had to go for an interview, but happy days.
Yeah.
But just going back to, before coming away from farms, I always remember, I've been back from college, we've been there about 2 months, walking on the exercise yard, and I sees that woman who was on the interview. And I said, oh, good morning, how you doing? She says, good morning. She says, I remember you. That's to me, like, I said, oh, that's a nice touch. She said, no, she says, do you know why you got this job?
I know why you got. I know what you're going to say. Go on.
Go on. She said, because you was the only one
who wished them happy Christmas.
Wished us. She said, don't get me wrong, everything else went right for you, but you wished us happy Christmas. Not one person did that at that time of year.
But it's not only that. That's how you are, isn't it?
That's
if you
me
see
all
someone,
over.
you're going to speak to them and wish them well.
Yeah. As my wife always says, even to this day, kill them with kindness. If they're having a bad day, how you doing, Sam?
Exactly. Listen, this is a message I keep telling people, right? That you know, speak to people, a few kind words. I have realised this last 6 months now that being a decent person, treating people right, and that. Yeah. And I wouldn't have known if I weren't doing what I was doing now, because all these people, they remember things that I did. Got them on a visit in 2006 on K-Wing when Mr. Redfern knocked them back. You know, and they remember them.
You overrid it. But again, it's like I remember you, Sam, as an officer, always sound as a pound. You was a character. When you worked on an healthcare, and I used to go on there, I didn't particularly like it on there because of the stench. Yeah,
it had its own aroma, didn't it?
Oh, mate, and you know, I used to come on and do a gym session, or I come on and do overtime, and you was always the guy. All right, Pat, how you doing? All right, Sam, what's happening, lad? Get a cup of tea. We're doing this, we're doing that. And you told me what we're doing, and we just cracked on with it. But for you to work on there permanent, hats off to you, because I couldn't have done it as a jailer.
It was, you know, there were very small amount of staff on there, weren't they?
Very.
So usually you're on your own with somebody who were working overtime, because we had no managers, no PO on there, no senior officers on there, just a couple of and nurse managers and that. But that's why I liked it, though. Yeah,
but if I recall, was there a stage where they're trying to do away with discipline officers in the healthcare completely?
Yeah, they were. It was. I'll tell you what. We will not mention his name.
No.
The drunk driver governor. Yeah, you know what I'm on about.
A few of them.
Yeah, well, they were. Yeah. So workforce modernisation and benchmarking.
Yeah.
I'm on landing, so drunk driver says to me, Miss Samworth, you got a minute? So he goes up. So there's 5 guys. This guy's, I've talked about benchmarking, workforce modernisation before. It's about get rid of staff. So I'm working on healthcare, right? We had some of the most violent, I think it's fair to say that.
Yeah.
Some people who were absolutely crazy, bless them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We always had a Cat A prisoner on there, always. Very, very dangerous place to work. And these guys says to me, why do you need prison officers on here? I says, okay, so I just replaced, I says, dangerous. Have a look, we've got 5 here on 3 officer unlocks. Well, why are they on 3 officer unlocks? I says, well, you know, go and pop your head in, you'll see. Cat A prisoners. At the end of it, he said, but we still don't understand why you need officers on here. I says, see these nurses, they're all females. They're not CNR trained.
None of them.
Yeah. And it will like banging your head against a brick wall.
But they don't want to hear that.
Of course they don't.
They prefer you to say, well, yeah, I think it'd be a good idea, that. Crack on. Because you know within 2 days there'd be a female officer who's badly assaulted. Hospitalised. And then you think, well, hang on a minute, we need to write the rule books here again. But like I say, that didn't happen, and it should never happen. The sad thing was, I always think when I used to go on that healthcare, people were poorly.
Of course they are.
Very poorly. And
That's
I remember,
sick, that, if you can't tell what he's saying.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, one of them we actually brought here to the loony bin.
Yeah.
Prestwich
Hospital. Yeah.
Prestwich. But I remember bringing him in because he'd been sectioned. We brought him in here, so like 4 or 5 officers, all cuffed up and whatever. He walked in, we took the cuffs off, and said, right, off you go. Walked off. Because he was mentally ill, but the thing is, obviously, what people got to understand is, they are mentally ill, but they've committed a crime.
Yeah.
So the crime becomes before the illness.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Sadly, a lot of them, the crimes, a lot of them come in for like assaulting police.
Yeah.
Or they'll be in community, stood in this car park here.
Exactly.
Crazy. Someone phones police turn up, there's no understanding.
Bend them up.
Yeah, they kick off, not necessarily trying to hurt people. A lot of their offences are like public order offences.
Yeah.
So it is a sad state of affairs.
It's a travesty. It's an absolute travesty. But what's going on out there in the public world, it's horrendous, because you got, like you say, social services. What else have we got out there? It's probation, and they're all undermanned because they've been cut.
There's a lad in Sheffield, I'm hoping to get in van. His knowledge of mental health through his own illness is incredible, Pat. Right. He's in north of Sheffield, so he's just recently got out of hospital again. Right. There should be, I think they're called care coordinators in the north of Sheffield, 8 of them. It's a big area, north of Sheffield. Yeah, 8 people. There's 1 because they leave the job. Right. They get overworked, they get stressed, and they leave job. Yeah. So a lot of these people are sort of unmanaged in community.
Well, it breaks you. We've all got a breaking point, and like you say, probation. So I remember probation at Strangeways. They was always under pressure. Like when they used to come on and do the interviews and whatever. And I can't remember one lad. He was in 8 squad, and he left in the end because he says it's just too much. The workload's too much.
You don't. There's no breathing space.
And you're taking it home with you. And I've obviously been following you, and I know about you, and we've known each other for years, is what brought you. And it's all pressure, but there's nobody there. There's no support for you.
Well, there's support your mates, innit?
Exactly.
Listen, I have said this, right? That job, right? So when I'm on K-Wing, you know yourself, some of the stuff on there. Bertie Bassett, fantastic. P.O. Pennington, had a good crack, a really good crack. If I were a cleaning warder, they'd be like, you, Jono, shoe shine or whatever. That's how I got to know you lads, innit?
Yeah, of course.
You be on the ones where all cleaning stuff were.
Yeah.
Pop in, have a brew, have a chit chat.
What's going on?
And for me, that job for me was about being at landings and all chit chat.
But that's never changed. That's basically never changed in the last 50 years, 50 years of being in jail.
Years, mate, they're all locked down now. There's none of that, which is making it a dangerous place, isn't it?
I do believe, and don't quote me on it, they've not had gym for the last 12 months. So you can imagine them. Like, I think, I can't imagine what it's like for the landing staff. They must be doing controlled unlocks when they're feeding them.
Right. I'll tell you who it is after. I need to stop mentioning his name because he gets embarrassed. But he was a cracking officer. He says now he's he's a senior officer at a Northwest jail, yeah.
Right.
But his role is like coordinating.
Right.
So he's coordinating incidents and, you know, like self-harm and bend-ups and stuff like that.
Right.
He says there's people now in job who he's got working for him who haven't been on 2 years. The prisons haven't been on association. Pandemic's covered a lot up.
Well, it's covering it. Full stop.
So all they're used to doing is getting a few out for exercise or a few out for showers. There's no interaction anymore.
Nothing.
He says everyone's angry.
So you imagine when all of a sudden, and I've no doubt the prison service will do it because they'll not have things in place where, okay, Boris says pubs are open, so open the doors, and they just say, let them out. What are you going to get?
It's not going to happen, is it? It'll be absolute.
You can imagine it. It's going to be absolute bedlam. I mean, you've got all them lads coming out. They're like shouting through the windows or whatever, they're passing when they're going getting the food, but that's it. But you let them out on association, and now the senior management are going to think, well, everything will be the same as it used to be. They come down, play pool, have a bit of tete-a-tete, go behind the doors. They thought there's going to be proper.
Dangerous.
Dangerous, kicking off, violence, stuff's gone on while they've been behind the doors, and this is the opportunity to pay back.
You've also got to remember, Patrick, that even if you just go back 10 years to Strangeways, go back to 2011, yeah?
Yeah.
Just before final decent report, which were 212, 213, loads of experience still.
Oh, mate.
Good you'll know from Jim, I'm working overtime. Staff prisoner relationships really good.
Yeah.
Good managers.
Fantastic.
What you have to remember now, not only shitloads of new staff, managers, fast track promotion.
Well, let's put it this way, if you join the job now and you've been in 12 months, you can go for promotion. You couldn't go for your SO promotion when I was in. I think you couldn't go for about 3 years, and if you wanted to be an SO, you had to do 2 exams. You had to do an English exam and a prison exam. You had to pass them, then you had to go on a board, and that was to be an SO. Well, I firmly believe now, after 12 months in the job, I want to be an SO. And you don't blame them, because if they're starting off on 20 grand and the SO's pays 26, it's a 6 grand pay rise within 24 hours.
Yeah.
But are you an SO? No, you're not.
There's a young lad messaging me now. He's been in 2.5 years. He's now a CM, so he's a principal officer.
There you go.
So he got his SO after 12 months.
Yeah.
When I talked to him, I think he's 23.
Yeah.
The conversation is like, you know, I'm way over. You know, I'm in deep end here, Sam, treading water.
Right.
He says
it's going to come on top.
He says it. You know, it is a struggle.
Yeah.
He says, and I look round. He says, but these people. I look every day and think, well, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? Because he says there's people around me who are less clueless than me. Right. He is more switched on at that age than you'd think. But like he says,
he's got a skill set which he can do it.
Yeah.
But you know and I know, when I was in that job and certain things happened, there were certain people you relied upon, especially when I was a jailer, forget being a PI, and there were certain POs, certain SOs who I knew, these guys are behind me, and if shit sits a fan, they'll back me up.
Yeah.
But there's obviously certain people who've got that right now, and you think, if this shit's at the fan, I'm off, I'm out of here. I mean, it's going to be alarm bell and boom, because I might get seriously assaulted.
Well, the other thing is now that, you know, they're telling people, if you feel threatened, to go to a safe place, a sterile area. Sterile area being where prisoners can't get without keys.
Yeah.
However, you know, pretty much every day when I were on K-Wing, you get threatened and healthcare. You know, if I went to a sterile area, I'd just be studying there all day. And if alt staff were in there, fucking hell, what would happen then?
Again, before this modernisation and what have you, and the vets come in, you must remember, if you press that alarm bell, look, all you can hear with boots, boom, 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 and the cavalry were coming. Yeah. And they knew they were coming. So when they knew they were coming, they were either gone or they knew they was getting panned. Because at the end of the day, that's what it was all about. Plenty of staff on the landings, so you feel safe, and the cons feel safe.
Well, that's the whole point.
The whole point of getting them out on association. Right, lads, have a good crack. You know what I mean? don't piss about it, what have you, but get on with it. And it was always like that. I remember Caymans, when I first went to Strangeways, Caymans had 2 officers, if not 3 officers, on each landing. Each landing. And then when association was on, there was loads of staff. But again, there were no either. There was no, I mean, it's like I said, it's going back to how it was and how it is now. I haven't got a clue. I've been at the job nearly 5 years in May, and I'd hate to think what it is like now, because the whole thing about that job is feeling secure.
It's locked down.
Yeah.
You know, you're reading reports now. I read a bit sad this, I know. IMB reports. And what is what's the headline?
Public domain, then, can you?
Yeah, they are. But what's the headline? You know, I'm looking at other stuff that's important.
Yeah.
You know, 60% of prisoners, 70% feel safer locked behind the doors all day. What is that telling you?
But don't forget, back in the 70s, in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, they were all behind the door, 24-hour bang up.
They were. Yeah. The old cons, we all know the old cons, they all say time used to go quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't like us, we didn't like them, but your time went quick. However, in a modern world,
it's a modern world. You don't
they're going
want that.
backwards, aren't they?
You want them out of cell. I'm all for it. Get them out of the cells. Get them doing something active, purposely. Purposely.
You've got to have a purpose.
Of course you have.
Definitely.
Purpose in life. Otherwise, it's a case of, well, what am I doing today? I might as well stay in bed. But you've got to give them something, and that passes their time, and it passes your time. Everybody's in a happy world. But again, getting back to, so let's drag it back to when
Go back to farms.
No, forget the farms. I left the farms. I did 15 months of the farms.
I was just checking.
Yeah, cheers, good lad. And then I'm pinged over to Strangeways then. I'll never forget it. At the time, they used to have the old clubhouse where the car park is there.
You're right,
the
tell people about this.
Well, this clubhouse, ladies and gentlemen, was for staff. Now, back in the day, if you were single, you could live there upstairs, you'd have a room. But it wasn't, that had all gone. But inside this clubhouse, you had a non-smoking and smoking room, where you sit, a relaxing room, watch the telly. You had a kitchen, and you had a dining room. And the cons used to come out of the prison, who work in the cookhouse, and they work in the cookhouse in the
club.
In the clubhouse, and they cook your food. So you'd order it, ring it up, now I'm coming over at dinner, I'll have steak and chips, so you go over, pay it, peanuts, and then you'd have your food and then go in the restroom. But they also had a bar, sold alcohol. Now you might smile, but that was...
Well, I'm smiling because just as you're probably going to say, you know, a job where... That sort of job where you can go and buy ale.
Drink ale while you're on duty.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was promoted. I always remember when I joined the job, every Friday morning, or was it Friday afternoon, you got it off, so they wanted you to go swimming, do some purposeful activity. Well, no, people went to club, up piss. But that's what it created, and that's what it was.
I've had people tell me, and they're like, all club, all glossy-eyed. Yeah. I said, so let me get this right. You finish work at tea time,
yeah,
get pissed, and then drive home drunk.
That's what they did.
I said, what? You know, what? Yeah. Why are you going all glossy-eyed about that?
Yeah. And at weekends, if you was on a main shift or an A shift, they go, not all the staff, some of the staff will go down to the club at dinner, and then you had a 2-hour dinner. Well, you think how many pints you can have in 2 hours. They go down, have whatever they had, come back, and then tea time, go down and have a couple more. I went with one gentleman, I use the word a gentleman because he was a nice fella. He's dead now, God rest his soul. But his sole job was, he worked on the healthcare with me in the morning. He wouldn't rack up till 10 o'clock, even though it was a 7 o'clock start. And then at 11 o'clock, he'd say, Scottish lad, right, I'm off to open the club. And he ran the bar. So he left at 11, he right back up at 3 o'clock, like a fucking snake, like that, getting in. How we doing? All right, son. I'll be gone at 4. Back to open the club. And that was his job.
Okay, no.
But when you look back at it now, but I went into that institute when that was happening.
The culture. But
the culture, it was a culture.
Become part of that?
No, I never, because I wasn't a drinker. Well, I like a pint, don't get me wrong, but I never drunk and
I can't think of anything worse than doing that job drunk.
Exactly. But there was a lot of them we did. But I won't say drunk. I don't remember probably that guy once or twice, but I don't actually remember seeing many staff coming in drunk. But if you walked in, like in them days, there was never no cat A's, so you walked in stinking of ale, they couldn't turn around and say, oh, you stink of ale. So yeah, I've just been to the club, you crank. So, but now if you did, they'd turn you on your heels and send you home.
You'd like to think they did. I've seen a few that they got problems with that they didn't deal with very well. And to be honest, 2015 was my last year. They were still all right, maybe not a lot, but still a crowd of people. If they run all day, would go at dinner and go at tea time, and you knew it. Yeah. They held it well, but you could tell.
Oh, they held it well, but like I say, you could tell. I mean, when I went to Manchester, you still had a lot of post and pre-write staff. So they were coming towards the end of the career, 30 years, and they were nearly done. And they didn't give a shit. It was you, the young ones, new kids on the block, were doing the work. I didn't mind that. I enjoyed working. I enjoyed keeping myself busy. But some of these lads, I never forget it, especially at weekend on 8th Swing, they come back from the club and a couple of empty cells. See you in a bit, Pat. Yeah, no problem. Just make sure you shoot the boat. Yeah, give us a knock. 2 hours later, come on, mate, you're getting up. Right, yeah.
You see, when people get all glossy-eyed about the good old days like this, and people are telling me, you know, we had the chief and it was a disciplined service, and then you're telling me, well, you might want to call it a disciplined service, but, you know. But but can you imagine me on K-Wing going in a cell and getting caught by Bertie Bassett trying to have a... What would happen?
You'd be forced, you'd be dragged over coals. But because that was the culture and that was in place, it wasn't being challenged. I was new and I thought, I'd never seen that at the farms. You'd never get that at the farms.
Did they not have a club?
They didn't have a club. If I recall, I don't think, no, they didn't. But it's a new prison.
Was it like a step back in time then, going to Strangeways?
When I walked into Strangeways, I went up them steps and I walked on that rotunda. Not the other side, the rotunda, and I stood there and you could hear all the noise, you could hear all the doors. And I said to myself, what the fuck are you doing here? And within a week, I thought, I want to go back. I got in touch with my old pal, Jerry, who's the SO at the farms. I said, Jerry, will you get me back? He said, get you back tomorrow, just let me know. I was like, I'll give it another couple of weeks to see how it pans out. Anyway, I got into it. I got into the routine, but what happened, what was happening then is, I wasn't, no, you was on K-Wing, you was on the healthcare centre. I wasn't. I was on like this group, which is actually located in the clubhouse, nothing to do with drink or anything, and it was like, they just deployed you in different wings every day. So I was never ever on the same wing. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Did you?
Oh, I loved it, because I come into work and this lad, I can't remember his name, but he ended up going into the New Zealand prison service. A cracking lad he were. And he said, right, I've got these jobs here, Pat, what do you want to do? I said, well, I'll go on B-Wing today, suss that out.
It weren't Bill Oliver, were it?
Bill Oliver.
Were it?
Bloody hell, Bill Oliver, yeah. Cracking fella, yeah. So he said, where do you want to go, Pat? I said, well, I'll go on B-Wing. So I go on B-Wing, suss it out, I thought, I don't want to be on here. Full of fucking I'll use the term, old lazy bastards.
Yeah.
So next day, I'd never go on B-Wing. I don't want to go on there. And what I always found is B-Wing, you have bottom jail and top jail.
Yeah.
And they were two different jails, completely. Bottom jail I didn't like, because it was all old school. I mean, it was like you said, it was...
It were different when I were there. Top jail, you know, you had to graft a bit of work. Bottom jail, boring for me.
Well, it were boring, because if they didn't go to work, they were banged up. And it used to be like, right, we're getting them out for exercise. Bit of inclement weather, that cock. Not happening. Right, no exercise. You did nothing all day. I couldn't handle that.
No, I couldn't.
It was awful.
Some people, that's a good day though, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is. It's just that was it. So, I mean, what people have got to understand is there's some jailers who went to work and did fuck all and plenty of it.
For 35 years.
For 35 years.
This is what I said. You're not getting respect out of me for doing 35 years as a prison officer, unless I know who you were.
Who you were. And
I said this about Jimmy Frampton.
Yeah.
He was a minor.
I remember Jimmy Frampton. I remember he was an OSG, he was a minor, and then he became a jailer, proper Wiganer.
Yeah, but he'd done, he'd worked at Coalface.
Sound as a
So if someone's worked at Coalface as a minor, I'm giving them respect.
Of course you are. But it's people skills. It's all that, what they don't do on that job, or when they interview now, they'll say, right, tell us a bit about yourself.
You don't interview, Pat.
I want to learn about your people skills. What have you done in life, and what are you about as a person? Because forget your qualifications, because I remember when they introduced, was it O-levels?
Yeah.
You had to have so many O-levels, be a jailer. Well, come on, that's talking bollocks, that. It's all about your people skills and what you are as a person.
Correct.
And how you interact with other people.
Which comes back to an interview. You can learn more about someone.
Well,
First 5 minutes of meeting people, there's people I never got on with in that job, and people I cracked on with. Just from talking, your first interactions,
and you
isn't it?
probably turn around and say to you, well, do you know what? I'm not actually a bad judge of character. Sometimes I got it wrong, and I'll hold my hands up. But 99% of the time, people I come across, and I said to myself, it's a fucking dick, that. Give it a wide berth. Or, sound as a pound, shake its hand, shake the person's hand and get to know him.
I take it I was sound as a pound then.
Well, you were sound as a pound. There's one lad there, and my mate John Owenfield called Gary Chisnell, Chiz. Absolute diamond. He died at 50. He was ex-Falklands vet in the Navy, but he was absolutely fit. He's one of the first characters I met at Strangeways, and I thought, fucking hell, he's mad, this geezer. But he had the cons eating out of his hand. But he was hard as nails. But he was a brilliant officer. But if you took any shit from him, he weren't scared of you. He weren't scared of them. He'd do a toe-to-toe with them all day. He'd have a rut with them all day. But like I say, Chiz was... I watched him and I thought, he's a sound bloke. He's a good bloke to... like mentor and to follow. And there were other guys like that, but there's other guys like you said. I walked and I thought, what the fuck? They'd be like the movements officer on B-wing, and you say, well, and you're never gonna out that chair for 8 hours.
No.
And you're running up and down. I said, he said, such and such your body needs unlocking. I thought, I said, well, fucking not giving me an hand or exercise. Then walk along and unlock the old landing for exercise on my jack.
Yeah.
And lock them up with that lazy bastard. We sat at office.
Yeah.
But it's only, obviously, when you're the new boy in town, you crack on with it and you weigh it up. You weigh up the situation. It's only as you getting older, you get mature in the job, you throw it back at them. Say, yeah, you lazy bastard.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, innit? You get shot down if you said that early doors. Like K-Wing, we're at first 6 months were a proper tough gig.
K-Wing was awful. K-Wing was, depending who was on. And I'll tell you now, I did K-Wing quite a few times. I didn't really want to work on there permanent, but I went up there because it was busy.
Yeah.
If he was on an early shift, I'd get up there because the shift was like that, because you had a routine.
Yeah, of course he did.
But I remember one jailer, you used to have the old wooden staves then in your pocket, and that was your truncheon, and people might think. And this bastard, he used to have segs in his shoes. So when he walked up landing, you could hear him. Before you seen him, you could hear him. So as you're walking, this is like 7 in the morning, waking cons up, you're like down landing, and next thing you'd have his staring like on doors. And I think, you horrible bastard, what are you doing that for? I remember saying to him once, what did you do that for? And I remember saying, well, what's your problem? It's just cons. I said, why are you doing that? You're supposed to be doing an egg count, or you know they want to get up, just open the flap, look in and close the flap. They'll hear the flap going.
The thing is, there were people who respected him for doing that, didn't they?
Oh,
he's a great lad, you want to see him.
No, but he was a bottomless bastard, that's what he was, because he left the job and he come back. Can't remember his name, but I had no time for him. But there were a couple of them like that. There's another lad who was just like him, and he went on E-wing, but he got done. He got done for finger porn on the laptop.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he got done him. He went on E-wing, which was the VPs.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he got up to. But next thing,
I'm with you now.
But that's him. But again, going back to certain officers in the jail, I remember going on E-wing. E-wing then was the VPs. Or was it E-wing or was it A-wing? Anyways, one of them. And this guy, he was the old jailer, but he was a character, proper Mancunian accent character, and full of, I mean, VPs, vulnerable prisoners, Rule 43.
Yeah.
He's called Rule 43.
Sex offenders.
Sex offenders, but they weren't all sex offenders, but 99% of them were. And in them days, you used to have breakfast, cooked breakfast. So the breakfast would come in like that, wheeling all
weekends or every day?
Every day.
Really?
I'm sure it was every day. Definitely weekends. And he'd come out, he was a cleaning officer behind the hot plate, and he'd come out and go, send down the bacons. And we were like, oh, no problem. Or he'd come out and go, send down the darts team. And he was funny. But he used to do it every fucking day. And he used to think, listen mate, change the tune. Give us somewhere else, or just send them down. But again, and he got away with it.
Well, you know.
You won't get away with that now. You'd be down the road.
Listen, I've talked about a little Scottish guy, you know the one I mean. 35 years, probably nearly 40 years, drunk every day.
Lazy bastard.
Yeah.
Tablet mouth.
But that's 35, 40 years of, he didn't even log into a computer, ever.
I couldn't
and
stand
not challenged.
I couldn't stand a word he said.
And not challenged.
No.
So, yeah.
And there were a few of them. But that was the culture. And I think when like the Veds came out and a lot of them left, we lost some good staff, experienced staff. Like you said, your mates.
Jimmy Frampton.
No, the other lad. Ex-squadder. Lived in Ireland.
It's gone out of my head.
Yeah, he's sometimes do all the apps.
Oh, yeah. I've never mentioned Nobby Nobbler.
Nobby Nobbler. Well, I remember him well because he's an ex-squad and we used to have plenty of chats. Very quiet lad, but the sad thing was he had a house in Ireland and his wife lived in Ireland. He was here, he was under a lot of pressure living at his sister's.
He absolutely worked. Do you know what?
Yeah, he lost a lot
I was
of
talking
weight.
the other day. I've never mentioned his name because he was a dead private guy, but you know, the day left brings a tear to my eye. This Karen Kenny, I've been off healthcare,
She
come
was
back.
a nice lady.
She says, your mate's phone. I says, my mate? She says, Nobby Nobbler.
Yeah.
I went, oh yeah. She says, it's his last day. I went, no. I knew he would.
Well, I didn't know he was going.
Well, what she says was, he said, he wants to pass on his best, but if he comes on to see you, he'll end up in tears and he don't want to do that.
Wow.
But I did go on his leaving do.
Did you?
A couple of weeks later, I weren't drinking. I come down in car, about 10 o'clock, it chuffed to bits to see me. We left others for about an hour, went and got him a burger and something to eat.
Yeah.
Then he went back to the lads and I got off, so
Yeah.
said his goodbyes. Yeah, but he was a good lad, him, very private, like you say.
Yeah.
But
And when he left,
grafted.
he never told anybody we were going.
No, he didn't.
He just left.
He did.
Which was a fair
But
way.
I'm glad he left me, Pax. He'd have killed him.
It'd have killed him. It'd have killed a lot of staff if they had took that payout and left. And everyone who I've been in touch with since left the job, I mean, they've done well for themselves. They've started a new career. The outlook in life's totally different. Because I'll always say it, that job is an institutionalised job. Does that sound right?
Yeah, we'll go with that anyway. I'm happy with that.
We'll go with that. But my mates will take the piss out of that.
Let 'em.
His videos.
Let 'em.
But what I'm saying is, I always used to say, it's like, remember Mr. Ben?
Yeah.
When I used to go into the Riz and put my uniform on, and I used to go into that jail, it's like being in Mr. Ben's shop.
Yeah, it is. It's,
And you're just part of that culture, that regime. But when you come out, you put the uniform in your locker, and you go home and you live a normal life.
or you try.
Oh, you try.
I thought I was living a normal life, but
and I agree with you because, again, where you talk about things coming on top, that's what happened with me. I was at Strangeways, I was doing these different jobs and what have you, and then eventually what happened was where you worked on the healthcare, it was getting a complete refurb. I mean, builders were in there and everything, and I think the powers that be said, if you want to keep the fundings for that particular building, you've got to put cons in it. So what they decided to do was put some orderlies in there, about 5 or 6 orderlies.
this is after riots they built healthcare, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about, I think about 2000 or about 98. Well, I worked there for riots. So what happened then, they asked for volunteers to go and work on the healthcare. So I volunteered. I thought, well, that'll do me that. Plus I was getting my gym in and what have you. So there's about 6 of us went to the healthcare, and that's when that fella come who used to open the club. Character, but I worked turn around and say that's out of order. Just let him crack on because he was coming towards the end of his term, and he's dead now, poor sod. But that happens, isn't it? Time waits for no man and all that.
Exactly, yeah.
So anyway, I'm on the healthcare. Been on there six months. Some good lads on there and wicked way, what have you, all characters and what have you. A good lad called Chris. He was a strange one, but.
We're talking about staff or cons?
No, staff. The cons, there were 6
orderlies, so they're going to be all right.
They're all alright, they're handpicked. They come on and basically what they were doing is clean up. But the sole purpose was to put inmates on the healthcare, also going to lose the funding, if I remember right. Anyway, 6 months into it, I get summons by this governor to go to his office. And I'm thinking, a bit strange. Now this governor at the time, he'd been in years as well. and he was coming toward the end of it. So I never particularly liked him because one of these blokes were very touchy with women, giving them a kiss on lips and all that. And he was the ugliest man in jail. You know what I mean? He was proper weirdo, but everyone knew him. Anyway, I gets to his office and I'm thinking, why is he wants me? So I gets knocks on the door and he says, right, come in. He said, these two gentlemen want to speak to you. I said, okay. Right, sit down. And he said, I'll leave him with you. And he's off he went, turned on his heels. I said, who are you? I said, oh, CID from Greater Manchester Police. I said, what do you want to speak to me for? He said, well, we're not going to cause you at the moment, but we want to ask you about such and such a thing on the thing where you're working. I said, oh, hang on a minute. I said, I'm not bothered about caution, but you want to speak to? I said, where's my representation? Oh, it's just a chit chat we want to talk to. I said, listen, fuck off. I said, I'm going back up to landing. If you want to talk to me, I want representation. So cut a long story short, I had to do it official then.
And did you have no idea what it was about?
Not at that time. So I had to do it official. So then when I went back, I can't remember who my representation were, which member of the POA it was, and they were the same guys, and then they put me under caution. I thought, fucking hell, this don't sound right. And this is like within 24 hours. Anyway, they starts talking to me about things going on the healthcare. I said, well, what we're getting at here? They said what they were getting at is, on an evening duty, i.e. 4 from 5, that's when you have your tea.
Yeah.
He says, you're on the healthcare and there's probably 2 more officers or 1 more max. I said, yeah, that's correct. Now, there'd be many times you'd be on the, Patrick, and on your own. I said, yeah, that's correct, that. He said, where would the other lads be? I said, they're probably down at the club, having a pint. Right, they said. Yeah.
Is this the coppers?
This is the coppers. So I didn't know what they were coming on to, but I do now. All fell into place later on. So I says to him, I says, right, okay. He said, well, when the food come on, which it did, because you worked on there, because only one way it goes in the lift, comes up, they shout down from the kitchens, food's on, and then I go up and I plug it in, and then I leave it, because it's obviously keeping warm till the lads come back from the club, or wherever somebody's been somewhere. Because don't forget, sometimes I go to the gym, I leave Chris on there, or whoever. So there could be one lad on there. But every time that food come on, plug it in, leave it, sit in the office. Right, but what you would do as well, you get the orders out, wouldn't you? So what do you mean, get them out? Well, you get them out, get them prep the food, so as soon as the guys come back from the club or what have you, it's good to go, get them all fed, happy days. But they were like that, all nice, and I'm thinking, what are you getting at? I said, what are you getting at here? I says, I'd never do that. Yeah, but of course you would. What? I said, what do you mean, unlock them? Why there's no staff there? Yeah. I said, no, I'd never do that, you crank. I said, because at the end of the day, it is, isn't it? You're taught at the Prison Service College, you'd never do that on your own. I mean, you're breaking all the protocols.
2 staff to unlock anyone, anywhere.
Even when you're on nights, what would you do? You'd never open lock a door, would you?
What the fuck?
Without getting the PO in.
Nobby Nobbler on nights found a lad hanging. He saved him. Yeah. He's there with his key out of his pouch ready, but he waited till somebody else is on the landing.
Because he could be enticing you to come into the cell.
Of course.
And I'm like, no, I'd never do that. And they're like trying to be nice. Like, well, yeah, of course, because you're very laid back. I said, yeah, more that laid back, you could get your head down. I said, but I never did that. I don't know what the other prison officers did. I said, but I never once unlocked any orders while I was on there on my own. I said, because it's common sense, mate. I could be assaulted, I could be taken as hostage, but I'm not going to...
Could lose your job.
Exactly. I would lose my job. Somebody walked on and said, what's this calling? You're on your own. You're in the shit.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what's all this about? They said, well, you'll find out, but that was it. That was a statement they took of all that. Anyway, he finished me, and I said, you're out of order there. I said, you're crafty bastards, what are you up to? So what do you mean? I said, well, you're trying to be nice and I know. I said, but you're trying to get someone out of me which isn't there. But that's how they work. That's how they do the interviewing process. Anyway, it goes back to the what's it called, the healthcare, and it gets talking like, and then someone else has been interviewed. Anyway, it all comes out then. A member of staff was bent. Okay. Out there. Iron Man, Tony Cullen.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah,
aye.
Yeah, he's quite famous in round here. Iron Man. This member of staff was bent, and he was corrupt. And what he'd done with one of these orderlies, and I don't know if he was a barrister or he was a judge or something like that, but he was
legal profession.
Legal profession, great word. He was demanding money off him, and he was getting money off him. All right, I don't know why he was doing it, what he was threatening him with, but he was bent. And what happened was, he was meeting his daughter on certain car parks, and she was handing him over money all the time. Anyway, obviously came to an head. She got in touch with the police, and they set it up, and they got him, banged to rights, accepting this money off his daughter. So that went to court, and he got found guilty. I think he pleaded guilty. I'm sure this officer pleaded guilty to being corrupt.
If you got banged to rights, there's no point.
There's no point. But also, he was charged with rape. This officer, rape, and we're like, that. Whoa, hang on a minute. What do you mean rape? So it came about that this orderly was allegedly raped at this time of day, i.e. between 4 and 5, when you're on your own. So he got him out.
Had he made a complaint, or?
Well, he must have done when it all come on top. Who knows? He must have said he's not just bribing me with money, he's raped me as well. Well, how can you prove it? Now, that officer might have unlocked him on his own. I don't know that. Yeah. But eggs
That's
are
why
eggs.
you don't, innit? The thing is, in prison, the reason you always have a buddy or somebody there...
It's backup, and
it's backup, but also... Somebody asked me about this the other day, about, sexual assaults in prison and that. I will do a vlog on that, but you're backing yourself. You don't go in a cell. Healthcare orderlies, like your gym orderly, yeah? I'd stand and talk to them.
Yeah.
You trust them or whatever. Yeah. However, if I was on K-Wing and have a word with someone, shoot bolt, and there'd be somebody, Nobby Nobbler, be stood at the door listening what was being said. You cover yourself, don't you?
Of course you do.
A number of staff that have gone in cells to have a go at someone, you've got there, and then the prisoner's turned and said, he's just a sexually assaulted me, boss. You cover yourself, don't you, mate?
Of course you do, yeah, because they could say that all day. That officer's just sexually assaulted me, and you've got to prove otherwise. So then, all can of worms, you're going to end up in court. But like I say, this allegation of rape, which shocked us all, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think he got charged with rape as well, and I think he got found guilty. So that all happened, and everything, it was awful, absolutely awful environment to work in, and 6 months down the line, I got summons to the Court of Appeal in London. Me and this PO, red hair, I can't remember his name, and we both went down to London, Court of Appeal, there for about 5 days. I don't know if you've ever been to the Court of Appeals. I think they do like the public, and anybody out there who's in London, go to the Court of Appeal, because you're taxpaying, that's what you're paying for. And it's an absolutely beautiful building. It's got all these little courts inside.
Do they have like a public gallery in that? Can you go in and listen to cases?
Not that I remember, because we used to go every day, sit there and wait to be called. We never got called up. But obviously, if I'd been called up, I'd have just told them what I told the police.
Yeah.
The officer, got found, he won his appeal on the rape. Because I'll honestly say, there's no way that fella, I knew him well as an officer, sound as a pound he was, he raped him, no way. I'm not having it. Now, people might say, well, how do you know? I don't know 100%. But as the bloke he was, obviously he was corrupt, but as a bloke, and doing that rape, I'm not having it. And obviously the evidence was brought forward in the Court of Appeal, and he won his appeal. And the terminology, he got off with it. Well, he got off with it because the evidence in front of the judge, he says, no, he's not done it. So he's not raped him, he's got done for the corruption. And that officer actually wrote a letter to the governor and to the staff thanking us. Because I hate to think someone's been found guilty of something they've not done. Which, it does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does.
Let's be honest, it does happen.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So, I'll never forget, all that went on, and I was a little bit set at wife. I said, I've had enough of this job, it's shit.
Did it knock you back?
Oh, it knocked me, but I'd had enough anyway, Sam. I mean, I've been at job 4 years, I got used to everything what was going on at the time, and I thought, is this it? Is this it, Patrick? Because it was a career. I mean, I had no intention of going anywhere else. I thought 30 years.
Unless you do something stupid.
Yeah.
You can do your 30 years, get your pension.
Get my pension,
decent wage.
get my gratuity, bail out at 60, still a good age. And just, walk around the house with just my underpants on. Happy days, innit? But,
Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, go for that. Yeah, you need to edit that one. Anyway, so I remember the SO at the time called Dave O, dead now, God rest his soul. Cracking SO. He was one of these blokes where if Con would come to you on the landing, this was on H-Wing, he said to me, I want to see the SO. I said, all right, okay, give us a minute. I go see Dave. I said, Dave, he wants to see you. What does he want to see me for? What do he want to see you? You fucking sort it. Get it back out there and you sort that what he wants to see me for. I'm not interested. Unless it's life or death situation, I don't want to know. And he was right.
Bertie Bassett.
Yeah, so I go out and I said, listen son, you need to tell him what you want to see this, because he doesn't want to see you. Unless it's really important or you've got problems at home or whatever, then we can get it boxed off. And 9 times out of 10, it was something informal. Something stupid.
That you could sort out.
I could sort out, and I would sort out, because that was your jailing. That's what you did as your job. But with Dave O, he was brilliant, and if you had to go and see Dave as an inmate, he would sort it out for you, whatever the problem was. And I always remember he's a drawer, sketcher. Some of the drawings he did were lovely. He did a couple of drawings with my kids when they were young. Anyway, I said to Dave, Dave, I'm thinking of getting out, I'm bailing out. He said, wow. So I said, well, all this what's going on? I said, the job's just not doing it for me anymore. He said, listen, you go to the gym more or less every day, you like the gym, you're sport oriented, why don't you become a PAI? I said, well, it's all boxed off, it's dead man's shoes, isn't it? And that's what I always got told, being a PAI.
What's dead man's shoes mean?
You'll never get in the job until someone dies. And that's how it operated. And, well, I thought it did anyway. But I always remember when I did my training at Aberford Road, on my report by a guy called Bill Barden, lovely, fantastic fellow he was. He was at the PEIPO, principal officer, up there, and he took, back in the day, all PEIs took you for CNR. Wasn't like the lads at Strangeways. It was only PEIs took you for CNR. They was the only ones trained for it. And to be fair, I thought that was clever because they boxed it off. You're not, you're just a jailer. We're doing it, we're PEIs, we do the physical bit. Yeah. And Bill Barnum put on my report, this lad should be a PEI. So that came back into my head.
Did you do any of that in military?
You know, we did riot training for Northern Ireland.
Yeah, but we just like, I don't mean a normal, we just like a soldier.
Me, I was an infantryman. So people are saying infantryman is just a foot slogger. Yeah, it was, but that's what I wanted to do and that's what I enjoyed doing. But funny thing is, when I joined, I told you I was in the tanks, and I was in my 4th term, what's called my gunnery term. I was inside this chieftain tank, and I don't know where it was, somewhere down Somerset, and they were firing into the sea. And I got in this tank, and he fired this round, and I went, fuck that, get me out of here. The smell of cordite, and the actual, you know, the back coil or whatever.
Recoil and
the recoil, and the back coil they call it, came through like that, and I went, and the Cold War was on then, so they was always saying the Russians are going to get us, and I think life expectancy of a tanky was about 2 minutes getting taken out. Life expectancy of an infantryman was a couple of days, because you can move about. So that was another reason why I got out of the tanks. So again, I went, Dave Oates says, go and see the PIs, get over to the gym and go and see them. I said, well, I was a bit like,
when's this about? What year?
About 90. No, it weren't 90. It was a bloody hell. 2000.
2000.
2000.
It's only a decade out, mate.
Only a decade out. Well,
it's all right. We'll take that.
3 for 4. I'm dry, yeah. Get a drink of your water.
Yeah. I've taken top off because people moan about swelling.
Did they? All right, okay.
Told me to get some glasses. I'm building up to it.
Yeah, well, get some decent ones, mate.
I will.
Get some Ray-Bans. Anyway, so...
I'm not about them. Drinking glasses, you
Jesus
fucking nut job.
The sun's out, isn't it? Anyway, so I goes over to the gym. Never forget it to this day I die. To the day I die. Walks in the gym, goes down the corridor, doors open at the end of the office. I knocks on the door. Doors open. No answer, no reply. I thought, oh, fair enough. So I walked in. There's a guy here in the left-hand corner, sat there reading his paper. Kenty's called. Very, very dear friend of mine, even to this day.
I've heard of him.
Oh, mate. He's awesome. A legend he was, Kenty. Proper Mancunian, as he used to say. He came from Wythenshawe, the biggest council estate in Europe. His old fellows in the Coldstream Guards. Kenty, I can't remember, I think he was an engineer, so he'd done the bit. And he was the old school, but he was on the roof when they were all rioting. He was part of the CNR squad. He sat there reading his paper. I said, excuse me, mate. I said, who do I speak to about becoming a PI? He never even lifted his head up. He says, go and see him in there. Just pointed like that. And I went, fuck's sake, is that it? So I comes out the office, I goes into the sports hall, and I walks around with all this gym equipment, and there's two old PI sat on this horse, a vaulting box for gymnastics. Sat on it, and there's one guy there with a bit of a red nose. Can't remember his name, I think it was Barry. Never really got to know him because when I went in, he'd gone, he retired. And there's other fella called Glyn, I'm not going to use his surname, but he was an absolute legend. Mentor for me, like a father figure. Him and Kenty.
Can I tell you about him?
Yeah.
I think it's the same guy.
Yeah.
2007 on K-Wing, got knocked off my motorbike at fire station, Bury Old Road.
Right.
I were in a bad way.
Right.
Somebody gave me his number, I went to see him.
It's Glyn.
Yeah. 3 days, or was it 5 days,
yeah,
of intensive treatment.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'd have been absolutely knackered.
Well, this guy, Glyn, was, everything he did was self-taught. This fella went down the pit. So he's like your mate from Wigan.
Yeah.
He went down the pit. I mean, hard as nails. He used to teach, I think, jiu-jitsu. Is that the
Yeah, yeah.
Teach that. He was an absolute proper, down-to-earth, said it as it was, said it as it is, fella. Anyway, I goes to him and said, excuse me, mate. I says, I believe it's you I need to speak to, reference becoming a PI. And his first words, I'll never forget it, he said, where are you from? And I told him where I was from, and he says, I've got a lot of clients around there. I'm thinking, what the fuck's that about? I'm thinking, well, am I here now with these lot? So I says, right, yeah, right, no problem. I said, what's the crack like? He says, right, he says, are you in tomorrow? I says, yeah, I'm a main shift. Get yourself fit, Jim, about 12:30, and I'll see you then. Ready to go, he said. Bring your shorts and your trainers. Well, I said, yeah, no problem, mate. So I bails out, and he's talking.
You're fit at this time?
Yeah, I was fit, but I wouldn't say I was fit. Does that sound stupid, fit?
No.
I was like, I mean, I was more into weights then, but I wasn't more, no heart and lung stuff, because that was me all over in the end. Heart and lungs, forget the weight. So I being a bodybuilder and all, but it's all water retention. Eventually, you just drop down to your normal size. But anyway, and Glenn, as he's talking, he's eating a jam butter. The jam butter, you never eat jam butters, do you? But Glenn did.
As a kid?
As a kid, yeah, you got jam butter, or sugar butters.
Yeah.
As a kid, and you got that, didn't you? Anyway, he's eating it, he says, I'll see you tomorrow. I said, right, no worries, mate, thanks a lot. So I bails out, I goes in next day, gets changed, comes down, he says, and he's in office then, he talking to this Kenty fella. I walks in, he says, he just went, get yourself in sports hall, didn't even look at me, didn't give me eye contact, get yourself in sports hall, lad. So I goes in like that, like, there's this like circuit set up, and it's got about 15 stations with different exercises on it, you know, like press ups,
yeah,
burpees, you got curls, you got press fin chest, different, not heavy weights, I mean really light little training bars and what have you. And I'm saying to myself, it's alright, this, no problem. So anyway, he comes in then, and he's got a table there and a chair. He puts his little Warburton's bag down like that, opens it, he's ready for his jam butters. He said, right, what I want you to do, I want you to do 5 loops, I want you to do 10 of each. I want you to do as fast as you can, and don't stop. Are you ready? You went like that, you went, stand by, go! Boom, I'm off. I'm thinking, I'm fucking nuking up block here, let's crack on, Patrick. Then he's just eating jam butters like that, and then people come in and talk to him. And I always remember people like Chiz come in, hey, Glenn, I've got a bit of an injury on my shoulder. Right, well, let's have a look, be messing. And you're doing your circuit, and because he was a sports master, and he was absolutely brilliant at it.
Oh, he was brilliant. So of me, mate. Honestly, I were wrecked.
If you was into that, which I wasn't, 2 lads in the gym were, Shoe Shine and Jono, he taught them everything they knew. Or he give them direction.
And the incentive as well.
And the incentive. And I think Shoe Shine has his own treatment place at his gaff. But he give them lads guidance, and I know to this day they'll always say, thank you very much, Glenn. But I'm doing this circuit, and I'm at 3rd loop, I'm on my arse. I'm on my chin straps now, Sam. I'm broken. I'm a broken man. But I always remember it back in my head. He said, and finish it. So what he didn't say is, you've got a time. So I kept going. And then I did the fifth one, and he went, how are we doing? I said, this is the last loop. I just, like that, feeling a bit sorry for myself. Right, keep going then. Boom, 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 finished. Walks up to him like that, and I stood up like that. He says, right, was that 5? I said, yeah, 5. Do you want me to do another one? No. And he went like that, he went, get a fucking shower. Just went like that, go get a fucking shower. I looked at him like that, and I walked off like, you bastard. I thought, what the fuck? I was like back in my head going back to, yeah mate, what the fuck's going on about? Why are you being like that with me? But I didn't. I went up, got in the shower, and I'm having a shower, and I'm on my arse. I'm broken in that shower. I sits down, this other fella comes in, this other lad, didn't know him that well at the time, OG. Yeah, Kev. Who Kev was wanting to be a PI. He became a very dear friend of mine in the end. He ended up becoming a PI up at Manchester with us. Big rugby lad. And he come in, he says, you alright? I said, mate, I said, are you doing that? I found it was called the Eliminator. I said, are you doing the Eliminator? He says, yeah. I said, I fucking tell you, mate, good luck to you, because it's just brought me. Anyway, he goes and does it. And that was history, because after that, Glenn took me under his wing.
Did he get a job?
No, you couldn't have the job. I was showing interest to become a PI. So what Glenn was doing was weighing you up. Expression of interest. So just by verbally asking, he'd weigh you up as a bloke. Well, that's what he was weighing you up. He wasn't weighing you up as you look super fit, you look the part. He was weighing you up as a bloke. What were you like? What was your character like? And he got into your ribs, and he'd be asking me about my family. My dad worked down pit. So when I told him that, he was interested in that. Yeah. And this, as you later on in life, as you get mature, you think, bang on that fella. Bang on. Blokes like him should never left the service. Obviously retired, but blokes like him an inspiration. It's the same like you say with Bertie Bassett. Yeah. I think they're the sort of people that should be training people. Trainers now, and I'm speaking to some. Yeah. You know, the people who are training now, a lot of them are these jobs with who come back, you know, jobs for boys. Oh, yeah. They ought to be the best people, the best officers, characters, inspirational, you know, people of interest, not fucking knob jockeys who are just gonna... I'm not bullshitting now, Sam, coming off of the track a little bit. When I left the prison service in 2016, after 6 months, I went looking for the prison service doing the recruitment. Oh, did you? Yeah, what was it called? What was the name? He used to do it in the Rids. I can't remember the name now. The Cotton guy used to do it. The governor? Yeah. But, I've talked about him before. I know, but he was all right with me because I said, is there any jobs going? And he says, I can get you a job, but it won't be up here. So he got me one down London. And I was working with this governor, retired governor. I didn't know about this. And this other lad. And we did all the nicks in London. So we was doing, like you said, the scenarios. Now I thought I was going as a PI, doing the fitness testing. Well, that weren't happening. No. That was all sewn up. So I'm down there in London. I said, okay, I'll embrace it. I'll give it a go. So basically, you're watching these people, and you've got actors. I think you did it, didn't you? Yeah. Right. So they had these proper actors, and we were doing assessing, which was the best place to be at the end of it. Right. Well, this is what we were doing. We were assessing, but we were watching live video. Yeah. So you had these actors, and they had a script, and they had to stick to the script. And I think there was 5 scenarios. And I'll never forget, this woman came in, and this actor she was obviously the jailer, and he was a con, and he was saying, I need you to get me some drugs in. I need you to get me some heroin in, some cocaine, it's rapid. And this is what he's saying to her. And she sat there, and she's like, oh, no, sit down, which was good, because again, you're de-escalating, as they call it. She sits him down like that, and he's like that, listen, you need to get, and he's cracking acting. I'm listening to it on the headphones, and I'm ticking these boxes, because you start in the middle. Of course, listen, go left. Tell me with this assessment, what we said, if you followed it to the T, no one had passed, but you know, again, watching, whether someone's got it or haven't you? Yeah, exactly. After a very short period of time. I'm telling you now. Doesn't take you long, does it? I'm telling you now, you started in the middle and you went left, it was going bad for her. Yeah. You went right, it was going good. So I'm ticking right, oh, brilliant, you de-escalate there, you calm them down. Because if they tell you to do certain things, these actors, they've got to react to it. Yeah. Don't carry on being a nasty bastard. Yeah. So he sits down, he drops his voice a little bit, and he says, listen, I do need some cocaine. I need some, I need it bad. I'm in a lot of debt. I need to do this. She's like, oh, she's touching him, touchy-feely. She says, let's start off with the cannabis. We'll get some cannabis in, and then we can work up. And I'm laughing. I'm fucking sad. I'm thinking, you are?
Is it a setup?
No, well, I'm thinking that because you don't forget you're being assessed as well.
Yeah.
So next to him, pen's going for it right, it's going to the left, isn't it? No. And she's like that, and she's like, listen, we'll do that, and eventually, I'll see what I can get you. But let's start off with the cannabis, a bit of ganja.
When's this, 216?
It was after 217.
Oh, fucking
17.
hell, man.
So I failed her on that, and that was my assessment. That's what I was doing this fella all the time. But then she's passing the other ones. So it's me to look at then. But look at this, says, right, well, let's have a look at the video. So they all sat there and they used me as an example because there was a woman in doing assessing at the time.
Yeah.
She's from some college. And obviously I was new doing it. And she did it all and she went, right, that's fine, that, Patrick, what you've done there. But the other videos, I says, yeah, but to me, she's...
It's corruption.
She's open to corruption. As soon as she walks in that jail within a week, what can I get you, kid?
I'll get you some cannabis.
I'll get you some phones. And this woman saying, no, if you look at that, I said, well, I don't want to see the other videos. I'm looking at the video I've assessed her on. And to me, that woman is not suitable to be a jailer. No, you're not getting it. And it was me, she was painting the picture that I'm too judgmental.
Okay, now.
And then within a couple of weeks, I said to the fella, I said, fuck this, I'm no good for this. I'm bailing out.
I told you what happened with ours, didn't I?
Well,
I'll just recap it. These guys might not have seen the vlog. So we're at the recruitment centre in Birmingham, yeah? The first week, I'm doing this assessing like Patrick was. So after a very short time, you realise you can see someone, they might make a few mistakes, but you know they've got it. Others, not a fucking clue. First week, Northwest recruitment. 54% pass rate. They wanted 50, all good.
Right.
Second week, it's down south, Birmingham area. Yeah.
Right.
Gets to the Wednesday, we're on 22%. They
Wow.
want 50. They were toss.
Yeah.
The governor you're on about, the Cockney, come in, he says, we need 50%, you're running too low, and there were 3 POs who assessed us.
Right.
So they looked at a sample of our assessments, you know, to make sure we were doing it right. He says to them, pass everyone who's female,
Wow.
everybody, and everyone from an ethnic background. And one PO, a Scouser, went, no, I'm not doing that.
No.
He says, if you tell me to pass the best
I will.
and make it up to 50%, I'll do that. Anyway, took him to one side,
Gone.
come back this PO, he weren't right after that.
Is it not?
Shine had gone from him.
Right.
So that's what they did. They passed everyone female who'd failed and everyone from an ethnic background.
No.
And that was in 2008.
Yeah.
2007, mate. So they were doing it then.
They were doing it then. And I remember another one, it wasn't on my video, but the woman's told me, she said, watch this part. And this lad come in, different scenario, and this lad who's obviously being the officer, he was a big, thick set lad. And they had a bit of a tate-a-tate. This lad just went on, boom, pushed him in the chest. So the jailer pushed him, knocked him to the floor. He said, then fucking stay down there. But they passed him. They passed him, so again, it was a strange one. So that was after I got out of the job. So going back to PE, so I'm in the gym then, I'm training up, Glenn's training me everything. He did it with all the guys who want to be potential PEIs. So then you're doing what's called baller, which is British Amateur Weightlifting Association. It's about a baller.
Can we stop there? Good place to swap camera.
All right, mate, crack on.
So, back shortly.
Back shortly, more water.
Al City.
See there. Right.